Welcome everybody. Thank you all for joining. This is a discussion about, as you can see on the board, the power of choice, master outcome-focused branching with AI video. I am David Gillham. I'm a product manager currently at Colossyan, which is an AI video solution. And before being a product manager, I was an instructional designer for about 10 years. So probably speaking to hopefully many of you on a similar level, similar career paths and so forth, or you've interacted with such people. And before that, I was actually a lecturer as well. So it's quite amazing. It's not often that you get a chance to bring kind of all of your career paths into one event. Here I am, again, reminiscent of my lecturing days up in front of an audience. I'm going to be talking mostly about some kind of instructional design type principles. So I'm hoping that the session for all of you today will be tremendously valuable, regardless of whether or not you decide to check out our software, which I'll demo at the end. We do have, it's a bit of a spoiler, we have a software solution that will help you to develop branching scenarios. But I really wanted to design this session in such a way that regardless of whether or not you decide to try out our software, you should get some great value and learn about how to design outcome-focused branching scenarios. So, I guess I should have had a slide here about what even is a branching scenario, in case you're not aware. The best way to think of a branching scenario is just a choose-your-own-adventure type interaction. So, giving your learners or your viewers the opportunity to make decisions and for the outcome of those decisions to be different depending on what decisions they make. That's what it is in a nutshell. So, I'd love to get a quick show of hands. It's flipped on that screen. Good to know, good to know. So for the people, anyone who's actually tried to create a branching scenario here before, I'd love to know which was your experience. Was it the kind of meme guy on the right-hand side of the screen? A show of hands for that experience? No, everyone has been the guy on the left. It's been zen. It's just completely calm. It's easy. Well, that wasn't my experience when I first started designing branching scenarios. So I would say 5 years ago maybe, I was working for kind of an agency type company, and we sold a solution, a branching solution, to a very, very large energy provider. I won't name the provider, but let's say it was a very, very large energy provider. And they wanted branching scenarios in, all of their major kind of spaces, including the plants, the oil rigs, the office spaces, and so forth. So they wanted like very kind of focused branching scenarios in all of these different spaces. We had to hire like a film crew to do all of the filming on site. It was a huge, massive endeavor. It probably cost them, I don't even know, hundreds of thousands of pounds to make. And the good news is that you really can design branching scenarios and develop them to a very high quality these days at an absolute fraction of that cost. But we'll get there in the end. So, why bother with branching? I guess I want to kind of skip over this one quite quickly, but there are a couple reasons why I think branching scenarios are so awesome. The first is they create active learning experiences. Again, as I mentioned earlier with my description, when you're designing a branching scenario, you give your learners an opportunity to make decisions, and the decisions they make affect the outcome. So you can really focus on behavioral stuff that's like, and I've got some examples that I'll work through. Of course, you can focus on real-world application. You can allow and encourage failure and exploration. This one is especially exciting for me because, as most of us know through our working lives, when we fail, we actually often learn like more. So when we create branching scenarios, we can actually encourage that like element of exploring the different fail states and what would happen and what the consequences of those fail states would be. We can also create immediate feedback opportunities, and of course, because we're designing essentially e-learning, we have the ability to scale. So let's get into the meat and potatoes of all of this. I have put together what I have termed Dave's 6 principles for designing branching scenarios. And we've also dropped a QR code for you in case, if you want to take notes, power to you, of course. but we've got all of this nicely summarized in a resource which you can download for free. So there it is, just hop onto the Colossyan website with that and you can download the resource. So these are the 6 principles. This is not being generated by ChatGPT. This isn't from some award-winning book. I'm not a publishing author. This is just based on my experience, and I hope that I can share that with you and maybe you get some value from it. So the 6 principles are, number 1, focus on the business problem you are solving. I feel like this is probably applicable to like all kinds of e-learning and just generally learning L&D as a whole. But as L&D professionals, we need to be better at this. We need to focus on the business problems that we're trying to solve. Second, we need to ensure the impact of the solution is measurable. And I'm going to get into this as well. I'm not talking about measuring pass marks. I'm talking about measuring the impact of the behavior change. Next up, use the context of where this problem occurs most frequently. Relatively self-explanatory one. The next one is to start with the consequences. So we're not going to start at the beginning, we're actually going to start at the end. We should always look to create realistic choice points. And finally, we should choose your narrative style before you start. And this one's it's kind of a bonus one, and I'll explain what I mean by all these in a second. Great. Let's start off with focusing on the business problem you are solving. So I've got an example here. I'll just speak the example as if I'm the CEO of the business or something. We've recently had a data breach due to a phishing incident. We can't afford for this to happen again. It's cost us $1 million, our customers' trust, and it's hurt our brand, right? So we have an actual business problem here. As you can see, the issue is clear. There's been a data breach. The behavioral issue is clear. Employees are falling prey to scammers in some way. And finally, the impact to the business is clear. There are clear consequences to the business. That's our first principle. Next, ensure the impact of the solution is measurable. So we have data on our employees' behavior thanks to, let's say, some recent fake phishing tests that we've been running. We did this recently as well, and it was like, oh, the marketing team are actually failing here. It looks like 15% of them clicked on the thing and would have, if it had been real, it would have actually hurt us. So we've kind of, this is a very kind of normal metric you might be able to have as a business. So we would kind of then look to define that as our measure of change. So after the training intervention, we expect that the number will be decreasing by a certain percent. And we will also note that we're not measuring engagement. We're not measuring pass marks. We're not measuring satisfaction. We're trying to measure the actual behavior change and the impact that that should have on the business. Next, use the context of where this problem occurs most frequently. So in this example, we'll focus on an email-related activities, as this is pretty much where most of the phishing is happening. After this, we're going to start with the consequences. So the business consequences are pretty clear. We've got cost of the business, the customer trust, and brand reputation. But there are actually other consequences which are implicit in our original problem statement, specifically to the individuals, right? We've got, maybe they would face disciplinary action. Maybe there would be a loss of trust from the management. Maybe there would be an impact on their career progression. Maybe they would have to go through some kind of internal investigation, which is crap and no one wants to do that. So here we go. We've got some consequences now. Next up, create realistic choice points. This one is quite important, I think, and this again is kind of where the art of writing a branching scenario comes in. You really don't want to patronize people by giving them really basic options. If you can, you want to create more realistic choices, ones that maybe have more nuance, maybe ones that don't always have very obvious outcomes, but as a choice are realistic. And the bonus one I mentioned previously, you've got to choose your narrative style. And this one is particularly important if you're using synthetic media like Colossyan, for example, because the avatars aren't always like perfectly situated to do one of these. So the two options really are a guided narrative or an observational narrative. So in a guided narrative, maybe you're using a lot of stock media and you're kind of going, this is the situation, this is how it plays out, what do you do next? Whereas the observational one is more like, watching a movie or something. You're watching people in action. You're not being nothing has been explained to you. Instead, you're just observing what's happening, and then you're making decisions. Both of these are valid. It depends on the resources you have available and your own script writing skills. But this is just something to bear in mind. So choose that before you begin. So this is and I just mocked this up. This is like a really, really, really basic looking branching scenario, frankly. And if you've ever designed a branching scenario, it probably will be a lot more complicated than this, but I needed something that would fit in the screen. So here we are. The key thing is, like, I'll try and read this here. I've got all my consequences at the end. Hacked, the business's business consequences, or IT asks you to mark as spam, great success, and so forth. So we can start with those consequences at the end, and once you've got them, then you go back to the beginning and you set the scene. So in this instance, it was like, you receive an email. And I do actually have this kind of a scenario to play out for you with a worked example at the end. So this is how it will flow. This is how it will work. And in fact, I'm actually at that demo point. So once you've designed it, some top tips actually, I highly recommend using a tool like Miro, maybe Figma if you have it. But if you're more tactile, you can, of course, just grab a load of sticky notes and slam them onto a wall. Whatever you need to do to kind of make your own design work, that is the hardest part. But if you start with the consequences, you can at least make sure that you're addressing those business problems. Cool, so I'm going to just move over here so that I can make sure that I can actually see what's going on. So what you're looking at here is the Colossyan interface. Colossyan is an AI video tool. It allows you to add avatars, add text, add media, music, animations, all the kind of things you would expect when making a video. This is what it looks like. So let's begin the thing, and I'm just going to talk over it. So in the middle of the screen, we've got our canvas space. You can see I'm just like clicking around, selecting. I can move all those things. I've got the script bar, so I can add a script, and it will, of course, speak. The avatar will speak with that script. Here I've now added a branching option. So in Colossyan, you can actually create interactive videos. And this is something that I've actually personally been working on as a product manager. Is it still playing? I hope so. It doesn't seem to be. Maybe it paused. Oh, sorry about that. I don't know what happened, but we'll just start it again, I guess. Oh, there we go.
Welcome to your...
Whoa. I don't know what's happening, team. Technical problems. All right.
Welcome.
It seems to be a bit broken. Let me just restart it, perhaps. Do I just exit and enter it? Okay. And we click slideshow. Bear with me, team. It's this button here, yeah?
I think because the other slide's still open on it. Yeah, so that one's still open.
Okay. All right, we're almost there.
Should we try that again?
We try it again. All right, so as I was saying, we're back at the canvas. And as you can see, we're able to add the media pieces. Where we've got to anyways, and we'll get there in a second, is you can add interactions into your videos. So as a team, we've been building this out. It allows you to, at the moment, add multiple choice questions and also to create branching scenarios. So here you can see the navigation changes to represent a branching option. You can actually add up to 4 options per branch, and you can branch like to infinity if you want. So you can have highly, highly complex branching scenarios all built within the tool here. And one of the major benefits of this is, let's say you're using a different authoring tool right now, and many of you might be. If you wanted to design a branching scenario, you would need to create the video, all those individual video pieces, and then export it, or export all of them, import them into your authoring tool, and then generate it. But with the solution, you're able to much more easily approach that, create the entire thing in one go while designing the video, designing the branching scenario at the same time, and yeah, Bob's your uncle, basically. So yeah, I'm just basically going through that, trying to map out that same branching demo that I showed you a second ago in Figma. What do you do? Do you do what they ask, forward the email, and so forth? Some additional things I should probably mention while we're here is that, of course, this wouldn't be very helpful if there was no way to share or export these videos. And part of the problem is, if you're familiar with MP4s don't support interactivity. So in order to solve this problem, we've actually implemented a SCORM implementation. You can export these videos.
Welcome to your first day at Softech.
And here we go. We're on to a
that
demo.
prides itself on data security and ethical business practices.
This is what a kind of a final product might look like.
Today, you'll face various situations that will test your understanding of data security, ethical dilemmas, and regulatory compliance. Your decisions will shape your journey and determine the outcomes. Let's get started. As you settle into your new role, you receive an urgent email from your supervisor.
We've noticed that a critical file containing sensitive client information is missing. Can you investigate and report back to me?
I always like to go with
How will you react?
the negative
You have 3 options.
solution, as you'll see in a moment. I've got a couple options, and I decided to ignore and hope that it just goes away.
You decide to ignore the email. Ignoring the issue doesn't make it go away. Your supervisor emails you again.
Please follow up on the missing file task. It's urgent.
Will you apologize and start investigating immediately, or continue to ignore the email?
I, of course, ignore the email.
Ignoring the issue again leads to severe consequences. The missing file contains critical information, and your inaction results in a security breach. You receive a warning and are required to undergo additional training. Unfortunately, you failed this cybersecurity training. Please review our security policies and try out this interactive session again.
And that's the demo. So quick and easy, something short and sweet for you. The key things I would say is that, as I was mentioning, you can export these as SCORM objects, which is extremely useful if you're using an LMS. We're actually also working on our own native analytics, so if you don't have that kind of a solution, you can actually track your user data, the decisions they make and so forth within Colossyan if you want to. And of course you can opt out of that if you don't want us tracking your users' data. That's all totally fine. And a couple other pieces I suppose that are useful. So the first thing is that the version I just showed you didn't actually support what's called jumping. So jumping is, imagine I have that same pretty complicated looking branching tree. Maybe I've got a couple of outcomes which are the same. Previously, with our original implementation, you would have had to like duplicate all those scenes. Your whole video would just get larger and larger. But now we've actually implemented an option that allows you to jump from one branch to another, so you can really streamline your creation process. And that really is what I've come here to talk about. I hope it's been somewhat interesting, somewhat useful. Maybe you've got some value beyond just seeing what Colossyan can do. I'd love to know, does anyone have any questions that I can answer? Yes, sir. So the question is, can we export the final results like via an API or something?
Yeah, to something else to trigger another action.
To trigger another action. Right now, not with Colossyan natively. I think that would have to be done, like if your LMS supports that, basically, then yes, it would work. Because
There is like a variable that comes out at the end to say,
yeah, pretty much. You can track pass and fail rates on different branches if you want to. Correct. Does anyone else have any questions I can answer? Yes.
Can you create your own avatars, or do you have to? Oh, sorry. Can you create your own avatars, or do you have to choose from a selection?
Yeah. So the question, I'm not sure if you all heard that. The question was, can you create your own avatars? The answer is an emphatic yes. So actually, this is free to try right now on Colossyan. So you don't have to. You just literally log onto our website, hit try now. And you can go on. You can upload an image or a video of yourself, and it you will be able to create an instant avatar. You'll also be able to clone your voice. If you want to check mine out, you can find me on LinkedIn. I'm David Gillham on LinkedIn, and you can see my instant avatar. I'm stroking my cat. He's a good boy, and it is a bit weird because some of you might notice I have a South African accent. The cloned voice tends to make me sound slightly Australian, which as a South African I take great offense about, but don't worry about that. For British accents it tends to work a lot better. So yes, you can create your own avatars. And what's amazing about the instant avatars actually is with quite a low budget, you could actually map out a whole interesting scenario. You could take a load of photos and you could create a whole load of instant avatars to populate those different scenes. And of course, because they're avatars, you can have them speak in multiple languages, so you can easily localize the same solution for a very wide global audience if you need to. Are there any other questions I can answer? No? Well, in that case, we're going to wrap it up there. I hope you've all enjoyed this. Do pop around to our stall, or just down there, B210. It's been a pleasure being the opening act for Ruby. Hopefully, everyone sticks around for that. And yeah, thank you so much, everybody. I hope you have a great day.